Hey guys, welcome to the Talk of Fame podcast. I'm Kylie Montigney, and I'm so excited to welcome today's guest, Nick Bracks. Growing up in one of the most political families in Australia, Nick was exposed to life in the public eye since he was 12 years old. Struggling to cope with depression and anxiety through substance abuse, Nick first gained his own notoriety in his early 20s through a publicity documented car crash and nearly killed himself and his best friend. The drunk driving incident became a catalyst for Nick to turn his life around, exposing his mental health issues and allowing him to get the help he desperately needed. The media attention he gained after the crash led to modeling career. It was an invitation to participate as a contestant on Dancing with the Stars. While on Dancing with the Stars, Nick took the opportunity to speak publicly about his battle with depression and anxiety, becoming a pioneer in mental health advocacy. Since then, Nick has developed a successful public speaking career on the topic, conducting over 1,000 talks at organizations around the world, including several TEDx talks. The Neighbours actor is also a successful interpreter, founding Move Your Day, PT Ltd, a corporate wellness software for employees in construction and similar industries. And with that, he released his book with publisher Wiley in 2021 and currently runs a podcast under the same name. Move Your Mind which is a podcast with the goal of breaking down and exploring the mindset of people who have excelled in careers a range of industries. Welcome to the podcast, Nick. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, excited to be here.
And so to kick off this episode, so you grew up in Australia and you currently live in New York now. So, you lived in the United States and Australia for, the last few years, two different countries, three accents, all that gist. So, what was your childhood like growing up in well-known political families? And what did you first realize your life was kind of, let's just say, different from other kids?
Yeah, it was sort of all I knew growing up because growing up in um, that, I guess my dad was in that position from when I was 12 years old till my early 20s. So I didn't really know any different, but it was definitely a unique experience. It was everyone knew who our family was, and I felt like I was in my dad's shadow, and I had a lot of mental health related issues. So it was, yeah, a very, you know, bizarre way to grow up, and um, really shaped the path that I've ended up going down. But was, yeah, like something where when you've got a famous parent, it's always a interesting thing to navigate.
No, I can definitely see that. Like, what was he exactly like in a political field?
So he was the equivalent of, he was Premier of Victoria, so it's like the state that I grew up in, which
Mhm.
Melbourne's the main city. So that's the equivalent of being like governor of New York. So, quite a prominent position.
Well, that's not bad. Like, how long was he it for? I know you kind of mentioned that earlier, but he was like most of your childhood, basically, starting at 12.
Yeah, he was there for 8 years. So from when I was 12 until 20.
Oh, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
how did it kind of shape you into like how you were today? Because I know through that time, and I'm sure like, growing up with a celebrity or so parent, it's kind of like you never know who you could actually trust or like who are people gonna say if you know like if they know like who your dad or mother was or whoever you're related to. Like, what was kind of that like?
Yeah, it was a weird way to grow up, and everyone knows who your dad is. So I felt like I constantly wanted to prove that I was my own person. And, you get known as being the son or daughter of this well-known person. So it made it feel like I needed to prove myself and needed to do something big myself so that I could be known as Nick, not just the son of, Steve Bracks. So, yeah, it was a difficult, confusing thing. I mean, a lot of really positive things and have great parents, but it was definitely a confusing way to grow up and led to me early on. I was trying to get as much attention as I could. I was doing modeling work on reality shows. I ended up having quite a big profile in Australia, but I really wanted, validation for the wrong reasons because I felt like if I can get more validation, then people will see that I'm worthy and I'm enough and I'm, this, that, the other. And it was definitely, yeah, a
Like
difficult
that's
thing.
something that I struggle with too, because I am like I know it's different from parents and siblings, but I grew up kind of like in a similar like situation. Like me and my brother are a year apart. So I kind of grew up like in that similar situation where I'm always like looking for what's to say validation of kind of like, okay, like people know him or people know me as so and so's daughter per se or so and so's little sister, you know? So it's
Mm.
kind of like it's very hard because like you're really as you know for that, it's very hard because you never know like, okay, like what did he think of me? Did he think of me as so and so's family member and they might not like you just because of being related to that person. And I know it's probably much harder with being in politics than most places, but it feels like growing up, I was a lot of seeking validation and trying to do things so at least people would at least like pay attention to me for at least a few seconds.
Yeah. Well, everything's hard in different ways. So I think that's the thing. It's all very universal, isn't it? That we grow up and whether it's a parent, a sibling, a friend, a lot of the time we can feel like we're in the shadow of someone
Mhm.
and we want to feel like we're, discover our own identity, feel like we bring our own unique value to the world. And how do we find that? How do we discover that? How do we nurture that? And I think it's why it's really important that we talk about that, we educate people, people have mentors and support. And, you can realize that there's many, many ways to go about life and there's not a right or wrong. There's only about finding what's the best thing for you, like because everyone has different talents, different interests, and it's really, I believe like about trying and exploring things and finding what, what's the best path for you.
I know. Like it's like with growing up with that, it can cause a lot of mental health struggles because you never know like what you like experience because if you grew up in a situation where a lot of people know who you're related to, doesn't matter like the relation or whatever, but it's kind of like not knowing the people you can actually trust. Like for me, I don't know how it is about you, but for me, I have a hard time trusting people just because like I'm like I don't know if they're using me for a family member or someone I know. Like it's kind of hard just trying to at least find people actually to trust, to find in that situation. And it can be very hard. And it's like, and for me, it led to seeking a lot of validation. And I still deal with that now, to be honest, but it's kind of like, as you grow older and you realize like okay like my dad or mom do this occupation like you can't control that, it's their life, they can do whatever they want, but at the same time you're like you become more realized like okay this is what my parents do, it kind of shapes on who you are as a person, but at the same time you're just like you have to kind of sort of live with it.
Yeah, exactly. What do your parents do?
So my mom is working in sales. So she works for a company in sales, and my dad's a pharmaceutical rep.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's
Like,
great.
what did your mom do? I know like your dad, he was in like the politics area in Australia, but what did your mom do?
My mum was a teacher and then she started a charity.
Oh, nice. Like,
Yeah.
did she start with
Mm.
your father, or it was it just her?
Just her. Yeah.
What is it about? I'm curious now.
It's about so she helps gifted children in the western suburbs of the town we grew up in, of the city we grew up in, sorry. So it's about helping people that can't afford to go to university or whatever else to get support, financial support to follow whatever their passion is.
Oh, that's amazing. Like, I have to
Yeah.
check it out now because that sounds amazing. Because like it's like I don't know what the situation is like in Australia compared to, the US colleges, but now it's like it's so hard to pay for college. I'm a sophomore in college or going to be. So it's like for me personally speaking, it's like no matter what college you choose, you're always going to be in debt or have like a hard time affording
Yeah.
it.
That's hard. Yeah, exactly. I think it's not as expensive in Australia, but still it can be it adds up. Yeah, so it's tough, you know. It's like I think education should be free because it's kind of like pretty hard, you know. You're getting people starting off behind. Like you're trying to educate yourself to get ahead in the world and then you go into debt and then you got to pay the debt off and yeah, I think education should be available to everyone.
No, exactly. And you have to pay for like the district in high school too. I think that obviously that's probably cheaper than
Mm.
college, obviously, but I don't know how much it usually costs. I think every district or where you live is very much different. Like every price
Yeah.
is different. But I think like with college and high school, like it's kind of like everything should be free. You're in college, high school, like a graduation and all of that. And I'm just like, you're going there for 4 years or whatever, how long
Yeah.
you're going there for, like depending on a degree. But I'm just like, whenever you graduate and you get a job, it's most likely going to pay off the student loans wherever your job is, like student
Yeah.
loans, student debt, or whatever it may be. If mostly it's becoming directly to that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And also to go off. So looking back, like were there any pressures or like expectations that came with your family that many other people may not have seen?
Um, Not directly from my family. It was more pressure that I put on myself. So my parents were pretty, yeah, happy for as long as we were happy. Yeah, they didn't really care what we did, but I felt pressure that I wanted to do more and achieve more and be more. So I was trying to do lots and lots of things, starting lots of businesses, you know, like I said, modeling, TV shows, trying to get into acting, trying to do anything I could to get more attention. So that's really the pressure I put on myself.
Like that's what I did too, because I feel like when I grew up, I realized that like, okay, like I come from a very like happy, loving family, thankfully. Like I know a lot of people, have that situation. But for me, it's kind of like, okay, well, like I want to see that validation like others do, and I try to do as much as possible to kind of get that validation and to kind of make it more now I don't want to say like more about me exactly, but it's kind of like, okay, well, I want to kind of get a little bit of attention. Since this is the way I grew up, people around me got attention in different ways, obviously, but it's kind of like you are literally looking for at least some attention for what you do. Everyone, has a different occupation, obviously, but it's kind of like you are really just trying to seek that attention in some way that you
Mm.
never know what exactly it is, but at the same time, you're trying to do as much as possible, like whatever, different things you would try. Everyone's different. But it's
Mm.
obviously for me, it's kind of like I wanted to do more than I probably should have and extend myself to very much burnout to the point where I wanted that validation and attention to make myself feel more known probably and to kind of feel like okay, I'm worth something in a way.
What were you trying to do to get the validation and attention?
I was probably I think like first of all, I feel like I was more so doing a lot of, podcasting and doing a lot of volunteer work. And like early on, I was like kind of like overextending myself with obviously school. I was a high school student when I started all of this. And then I was
Mm.
doing a lot of volunteer work in the area. So that was kind of a lot in like my local community. And then I was podcasting a lot. Like I was very much like doing multiple interviews a day to the point where I was probably doing I'll say I think like three a day or something like that.
Oh
Like
my
it kind
God.
of depends on the day, like if I have school stuff or whatever. But I think I would sometimes do like three interviews a day at most, and just kind
Yeah.
of
How
waking
many
up
were you
at dawn.
releasing?
Huh?
How many were you releasing at that time?
So I was releasing. I think like 2 episodes per week. I don't have an exact day where I strictly post on maybe like strictly Wednesdays. Like it's kind of like depends. I at least post it at least 2 or 3 times a week. Now I'll probably post like at least well, I kind of still post like once or twice a week, but now it's like life is a little busier, so it's kind of like hard, but I at least try to aim at least 1 episode per week, depending on the week and also interviews and all that, my schedule at work. But I feel
Yeah,
like I was
busy.
adding too much on my plate, also having a part-time job to the point
Yeah.
where I kind of was doing all of these things to the point where I was really becoming very burnt out, and it
Yeah.
really was making me like suffer from mental health because I feel like the more things I did, the more attention I got. And plus, like I really loved what I do, don't get me wrong, or still do. It really was like I feel like the more I did, the more attention and reassurance I got.
Mm. What's your dream of what you would love to do?
I feel like for now, it's really just hopefully work with in some way journalism and like become
Mm.
like a journalist or something. But I feel like a part of me is like I always wanted to do something entertainment wise since I was very young or sports or whatever. But I feel like a part of me is kind of like trying to find ways to like give back as much as possible. Because for me, I've dealt with mental health and stuff as well, like growing up, mental health, like anxiety, depression, ADHD, OCD, like I dealt with all of that.
Wow.
So, like, I think a part of me is like wants to kind of get back in the mental health like aspect of it and really just be there for a lot of people because a lot of people deal with mental health problems. I feel like everyone in a way deals with some sort of mental health problem, but not a lot of people see that because I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of social media can lead to like everyone seeming be so happy, but they're literally miserable on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like, what was like your experience been like with mental health though? Because I know you've been very openly, sharing your journey with mental health and your experiences, but what was it like for you personally?
I suffered mainly from anxiety would be the biggest one for me. So I had a lot of overthinking, a lot of worry about the future, about what will happen, about wanting to really know how I could control outcomes. And yeah, a lot of anxiety about feeling out of control in life. And that was the most difficult thing for me. I had periods where I was depressed as well and used alcohol to cope. So I was getting in a lot of trouble and I was trying to really numb my emotions, not feel what I was going through, trying to avoid facing all the things that I was dealing with and, led to a lot of different behaviors. So that was the biggest one.
Like for me, I deal with anxiety as well. I had it ever since I was a baby. Like I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder when I was very young. I don't know what age I was like mostly diagnosed with, but I knew I was very young when I got diagnosed. So I was dealing with and still deal with the same thing. And anxiety mostly took over my life. When I was very young, it
Mm,
really put me off a lot and I missed a lot of opportunities because of my anxiety and it led
mm,
to depression for me. Like I
mm,
was dealing with depression over the last year. It's ever
mm.
since about March of last year, I was dealing
Yeah,
with it. It started. So it's kind of like oftentimes with people with anxiety, it really sometimes leads to depression. Not everyone, deals with that with anxiety and then goes to depression. It kind of depends on like who you are, your life experiences, like trauma or something, but it's kind of like a
yeah,
lot of
exactly.
people with anxiety sometimes go to depression and sometimes they lead up to alcohol. I feel like for most people I've seen, like a lot of people that have depression, sometimes they do drugs, alcohol, or
Yeah,
whatever to cope. And that's I feel like is like the most oftentimes um like things to cope a lot of times.
yeah, massively. Oh, so many, exactly. I think trying to use it to cope and numb yourself to the pain that you're going through. It's a way to escape.
No, yeah, exactly. And before we wrap it up, like if you could sit down with your younger self during one of your hardest moments, like what would you tell them?
I would say that you're enough is the main thing I would say. That you don't need to prove anything and you're enough as you are. That's really probably the main thing I'd say, the main message. You're enough. It's okay. You don't have to prove anything.
That's something I would tell myself because I feel like growing up, I was always very hard on myself for those specific reasons. And now
Mm.
as I look forward and getting older and all of that, I realize like, okay, like you're putting so much pressure on yourself for sometimes no reason, but sometimes it kind of goes in that good way in a little bit. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it's very much a lot of people are very much hard on themselves. And,
Yeah.
as you get older and you kind of realize, like, maybe I shouldn't be that hard on myself. And sometimes it's okay to be hard on yourself. Don't get me wrong. But
Exactly.
it's the very time it's like you have to sit back and actually relax on what you do. Not everything is about work. Not everything is
Exactly.
about this.
Mm.
Like you are enough just the way you are, even if you're very hard on yourself or you feel like more people are doing more than you. Like this is your own journey. Like this is
Yep.
your life. Like don't be too on yourself because people are more successful than you or you're dealing with your problems.
Exactly. No, so true.
But I think that's the best way to wrap up this episode. But I really thank you so much, Nick, for taking the time to chat with us today. I seriously loved having you on and really thank you so much for being so vulnerable and open about your journey. It means so much. And people like you are amazing. Sharing those mental health stuff is amazing. And sharing the struggles is very strong of you, and I really am so proud of you for being this so open and everything because I know a lot of people need to hear it.
Thank you so much. No, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So thank you everyone so much for coming on and taking the time to listen in and talk to you guys very soon. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review, and I'll talk to you guys very soon.